return after these messages.
Hello, welcome to another JoeTube, obviously hosted by myself, Dreadwind. How are you? Hope you're doing all well out there. Myself, not doing too badly. I am on holiday very, very soon though, so this is going to be the last video I do for a little bit, for a couple of weeks anyway. But I'll be back right after that with another Transformers video. In the meantime, we do have something that I kind of promised in my last Transformers video, and that is this thing. The Ram Cycle. This is the 25th anniversary version with Corporal Breaker. Yeah, he's got a rank now because Hasbro wanted to keep the name for themselves. So Corporal Breaker it is. And you know, this is a very, very nice piece of kit. I do really like the Ram Cycle there. Comes packaged, this the 25th anniversary version. Comes packaged with the Trouble Bubble and the Teddy Viper there. Breaker, for some reason, he's just really supposed to be an ordinary G.I. Joe grunt, but he was on the package, which is why he gets named, basically, why you get a named figure. Now, we'll talk about the figure in a little bit, but first we'll talk about the Ram Cycle itself. Now, the Ram Cycle is one of the very first G.I. Joe vehicles that ever came out, and featured prominently on the in the early episodes of the G.I. Joe cartoon series, and you know, pretty much in the comic series as well. It was quite heavily featured, but certainly in the cartoon, where it was actually ridden more by Rock and Roll than it was by Breaker. Breaker, as we'll see, never really did much in the cartoon series at all. But yeah, Rock and Roll drove it, or rode it I suppose, a lot in the early cartoon series, making it sort of one of the catch-all ground vehicles. It's kind of the Sky Striker of the ground, you know. So you'd see a lot of Joes riding it around just as a sort of generic bike vehicle. And the original vehicle was actually very, very different. The original vehicle didn't have handlebars, for instance. It just had the little holes here and here, and you would get your figure and slot the hands into those, and that's how they would ride it. So they've got packs that come off now. That's a new thing. The gun at the front there didn't originally move round, I believe. This one does. It's got a little thing at the back where if you twist it, it does feel like it's going to break off. So that's not good. That's generally left to its own devices. Now I am missing a couple of bits, or at least one bit. I have another grey, if I take this off a minute, I have another grey piece there on the other side, which should be there. Sadly, seems to have gone walkabout. When I moved to Swansea a couple of years ago, it seems to have sort of disappeared. But, you know, there you go. Shit happens, eh? Other than that, you've got these packs which come off, and there's actually stuff in them. I'll show you nice up close. There's a nice bit of detail on them. It says Saddle Pack 2, this one is. And if you open up Saddle Pack 2, well, you find a little grey pistol, which is kind of fun, kind of nice. I like the fact that you can actually put things in this. It sort of ups the play value a bit, and they just slot in to a little slot there. Slots in, and it's friction held. But it's surprisingly firm. I don't think Saddle Pack 1 has anything in it at all. But it has the potential. Nah, nothing in there at all. But it has the potential to have something in it, which of course, it's great for play. Now, obviously, this sidecar gun comes off. And you've got a rolling wheel. It's got some lovely detail on the side. They are G.I. Joe vehicles. Are always well detailed. I do really enjoy that. And like you say, the Gatling gun does go around and round. But it best not to use that, really. I mean, it does work, but it kind of feels like it's going to break at any second, and you don't really want that. But you don't go around and round like that. And of course, it has a post and a pillar, and they just go into it like that. The steering does go round, like so, which is really nice. I mean, it's altogether very solid vehicle. And it's also got a kickstand which comes out. So there's not much to the vehicle, if I'm being honest, but it's a solid little vehicle. It's a good little vehicle. It's really nicely done. Now, Breaker himself. Well, this is a version of the Breaker toy that was used. I believe it's the first version, which was included in the comic pack. Now, the comic pack one was a much more extensive release than this. This is literally just a guy to ride the bike. And you can tell, it's not the best. The comic book version, really good. It even comes with a little bubblegum piece that you can pop into the mouth there, so it looks like he's blowing a bubble like he always was in the TV show, and in certainly in the comics, I believe, that's which is what he did a lot. Now, this version, we'll just go into Breaker a little bit, just a tiny bit, not enough to cause any offence or any harm, as a certain Irishman, Ray, might say. Now, his real name's Alvin R. Kibbe. It comes from Gatlinburg, Tennessee. He's a corporal. He's classified infantry and communications tech. In the Action Force toy series, he's actually from Munich in Germany, which is strange because in the film version of Breaker was from Morocco, I believe. He was actually French. In the Marvel comics, he appeared in issue 1, and he last appearance was in issue 109. He sort of was a support act in the comics, just like he was in the cartoon, but he actually did more in the comics. Hawkins was assigned him to travel with Clutch to look out for Cobra in issue 19. They were sending forces to attack Joe headquarters on Staten Island. They picked up the stranded Snake Eyes there, and they averted disaster, as you do. And they fought... 2 police officers, sorry, Breaker, Steel, Clutch, 2 police officers fought Cobra officers and robots in the Florida Everglades as well. He also was one of the people to, he was the first to learn, actually, the tragic death of Quinn, who was the G.I. Joe ally. He also suggested, quite salaciously, that CoverGirl and Scarlet should be a mud wrestling team. Oddly enough, she turned them down. His last appearance was in issue 109. Breaker and a lot of Joes were captured by Cobra during a mission in Bismia. Due to a misunderstanding by their captors, the group is set to be executed. Many of the Joes, including Doc Thunder Heavy Metal, were killed by Saw Viper before Lieutenant Falcon injured him with a knife. Breaker and the surviving Joe stole a Cobra Rage tank and fled into the desert. Shortly after, Breaker sent a communication to the pit via the Rage's radio equipment, and the tank is destroyed, killing him, Crater X, and Quick Kick. He also had a story told later on in flashback. Now, in the animated series, Breaker was a bit different. He appeared in the first miniseries. He was voiced by Chris Latta. And his uniform was actually dark grey instead of green. You will notice in the cartoon that he is sort of dark grey, sort of the colours that Mainframe would become later on. He rarely involved in combat. He actually took the role that Teletran 1 took in the Transformers series. So it was basically there, do the thing, you guys, do the thing. The thing needs to do the thing. And that's basically all he did in the show, was just sit there and sort of say, something's going off here and it needs sorting out, so you guys better go sort it out. It's got like Zordon in the Power Rangers, if anything. So not really the best character in Sunbow. He had more of a run in the Marvel Comics. And was pretty cool in the Marvel Comics from what I've read. I've only read up to about issue 19, so I do have them all. I do need to read them. I really do, because that would improve my Joe knowledge. Now, the Breaker figure, like I say, is... it's not an honorary tool. It's literally just a figure from the comic backs, if I remember correctly. And it's an okay figure. He suffers from Duke Arm syndrome. He has the Duke Arms, which everybody hates because they're bloody terrible. I've talked about this before. Other than that, he's got the standard Joe articulation. So, the legs go double jointy. He has ankle swivels and ankle slides there. I don't know what you would call that. Ankle turn? Probably ankle turn. His waist does go around and round. His arms do everything that you want them to. Sadly, he has got the Duke arms, so sometimes it looks like his arms are sort of ripping off, even though they're not. And he's got the face. I have a problem with the face. I don't really like it. I'm not especially keen on Breaker's face there. Don't like you and I don't like your face. But he's got a nice helmet that goes on his head there. And it's a solid enough figure. I mean, you can sort of class it as a G.I. Joe grunt than Breaker himself. It's just literally a guy to ride the bike. Now, because the bike is very, very similar to the original G.I. Joe Ram cycle, you can sit real American figures on there without too much trouble. I'm going to use cutter, and I'm going to show you how the original toy would have gone through if I can, because it's never easy to do these things. Basically, something like this. It's hard because the handlebars get in the way, but basically it would have sat on there like that. The hands go into the holes by the side there, and a lot of people do prefer that. A lot of people prefer that configuration of doing it, mainly because it looks like a more futuristic bike if you do that. There we go, that's better. This is how he would have gone normally. The hands would have fitted in there, and that's how they would have ridden it, rather than the 25th anniversary way of doing it. And like I say, a lot of people prefer it, mainly because it makes the bike look more futuristic and less like a modern military vehicle. Because G.I. Joe always had sort of futuristic military vehicles anyway. Cobra even more so. Cobra were just insane, which is why I think people like their vehicles even more. But this is the way the 25th anniversary did it. They did it a bit more realistically. And that's how Breaker rides the Ram Cycle. And like I say, it's a very nice vehicle. It's nothing that's going to blow your mind. But it's certainly something nice. And I can see people army building these kind of things. It's the sort of thing it would look more impressive if you had more than one, basically. But it's a very nice vehicle. It's certainly worth getting if you can pick one up. Usually, like I say, they come with the trouble bubble. I don't know how rare they are these days and how expensive. Probably very. But I was kind of lucky. I got them for about 15 quid that were in the whole pack. So that's very, very nice. But yeah, that's the Ram Cycle. Definitely get one if you can. It's a standard Joe vehicle that everybody should have. So that's it for me for now and for a couple of weeks. When I come back, I did just get Fall of Cybertron Bruticus, so it's quite possible that in the next few weeks you might see a video about Fall of Cybertron Bruticus. It'll be a long one, so bring popcorn. Until then, I'm off to France for 2 weeks, so enjoy the time that I'm not here. I should be back, like I say. Have fun, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye-bye for now.